Welcome to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, a program for and about women. Joyce Buford is a certified coach who has a passion for helping women who need a second wind. Joyce is the creator of Uncover Your Hidden Genius, a program that will help you live a life of greater purpose, fulfillment, and ease. As a certified coach, she studied directly with her mentor, Jack Canfield, author of the Chicken Soup book series, where she served as an assistant to his training program. Through her study with many prestigious coaches and mentors, she has created a powerful program that has positively impacted hundreds of people. On today's program, Joyce and her guest will help you learn how to get your second wind. Now here's our host, Joyce Buford.
Good morning and welcome to Second Wind. It's a beautiful day here and I hope it is wherever you are. But it's even going to be a more beautiful day because you have come to listen to my guest today, Diane Halfman. Now, she is a pretty special lady, and I'm excited to have her on our show because she offers us so much in transition, in helping us regroup our life in moving forward. Now, Diane is a speaker, an author, an organizational expert, and founder of Spa Life. Diane is having an international mission to help passionate, high-achieving women, entrepreneurs, learn to live a life of design and not default. As the Spa Life curator, she shows successful women how to infuse more harmony into the 9 key elements of their life to continuously create more peace, beauty, freedom, and joy in their lives. Her podcast, Live Your Spa Life, is a call to action for all women to define and create the life they truly want. Now, Diane is like a beautiful butterfly that's has transitioned through life, experiencing divorce, becoming a single mom, needing to support 2 children, and to do this, she succeeded as an undercover cop in San Diego Police Department. Now, when I met Diane only a short time ago, I was really fascinated by this really attractive woman and this absolutely scary, mysterious background. And I am so excited to share her with you today and her story. So welcome, Diane.
Thank you, Joyce. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you have to tell me, 2 things are just popping off my brain right now. Why did you choose Spa Life as your program?
Well, great question. You know, people ask me that a lot because they're like, "Oh, do we just hang out at the spa and get massages?" And that's maybe that's a subconscious thing because I think that is actually a great thing to have in your life. But the whole thing behind Spa Life is that the acronym for SPA, the SPA, is to seek power always. And that's a reminder to all women that we have that power within us to shift no matter what's happening in our life, no matter what we've confronted with. Women are so resilient. And sometimes when we're in the muck, we forget about that. And so having the reminders of how strong we actually are is one of the big missions and purpose of Spa Life.
Oh, yeah. I applaud you on that. Now, I would be amiss if I didn't say, okay, how did you get in this career that, to me, it has so much mystery about it, even though we watch it on TV. I'm a big TV police story fan. And so I'm like, oh, my goodness, I would be so afraid. I would be constantly in panic. And you don't look tough and what I would envision as a person that would take that career on. So I want to know how you got there and why you chose that.
Well, it's so funny that so many times the path that we have, it chooses us versus us actually actively choosing. Which is interesting is I was the oldest or am the oldest of 3 children. And my dad, basically, when I was getting ready to go into college, said, okay, are you going to be a doctor or an attorney? Like, those were the only 2 choices in the world that there were available. And, of course, he did that with love, wanting me to be successful, and thought that those were going to be, high-paying careers. And I thought, well, I don't want to go into medical. And I'm interested in law. That might be something interesting to do. So I actually went and got my degree in criminal justice and actually worked with an attorney my senior year of college, and realized that this wasn't the path for me, and was going, now what do I do with this law degree? And I had other students, men in the class that were going into law enforcement. They said, why don't you come on a ride along and come check this out? And I thought, well, what's the harm? And here, I had never even touched a gun before. I really didn't even know what that whole profession was about, and didn't have a lot of contact with police, actually. And so at the time, they were actually looking for women. There weren't very many women back then on the department. And I said, well, I'll just take the test. I was a good student. And I took the test and was accepted into the department. And between starting the academy and getting on the street, they were particularly looking for undercover because there was a serial killer that was happening, and they were targeting prostitution. And so I kind of got pulled into that world. And within 3 months, it just happened really super quick. And when you're young and in your 20s, you kind of don't really know what some of the things are that you sign up for, and you just kind of roll with it. And I just knew that God had a bigger plan for me to see things outside of my life of being middle America and private school, and to be on the street. I had no idea how people were living.
I know. Isn't that interesting? I have no idea either. Oh, that's Moo that's trying to think of a question for us. My dog, Moo, my dog, she's by my side. One of the things that I am faced with thinking about is, how did you face what I would have considered was a tremendous fear? You're so young. I mean, was it the I call it the courage of the young, because what you don't know. And so, how were you able to face that on the street, where it not been your ordinary experience?
Right. Well, I think there's 2 things that happen with that. One, the training is really intense, and you really rely on your training. So in stressful situations, when you are well trained, and this applies to all different areas of our life, is that we revert to our training, to our knowingness, and really gather from that wisdom that we have. And we are actually, one of the things I was very proud about is that our department was very well trained. And so a lot of the situations were very reactionary. I mean, you only have seconds to really make these decisions and do the things that you need to do. So really, a lot of it's automatic. And so the better your training, the better you can have response and have those things happen. Now, sometimes hours later, you'd be like, wow, I just got shot at, or this just happened, or, and you have that kind of after the fact math that kind of happens. But when you're in it, you really are focused on serving and doing your job, and, being as safe as you can, and knowing that you're there for a bigger purpose, and there's other people too. I think we put ourselves in danger more often when we're protecting other people, and we have a bigger focus. Another thing that was happening is I had gone through my training, and my husband at the time, I'd been married for 6 years. My daughters were very young at the time when I was going into the department, and that wasn't the path that after I was finishing up my academy, my husband did not want any part of that, wanted me to quit, wanted us to move and just make all of these changes. And I had told him, I said, I would consider that. However, I just had finished my training, which was very intense, and I actually needed to do some time on the street in order to be fully certified. And I said, I want to at least get my certification completed, so that if I wanted to, do this somewhere else, or to not make this year that was so challenging, worth nothing. So I wanted to have that completion. And although he originally had agreed to that, he, unbeknownst to me, had served divorce papers within 3 days and had left. And that was just such a devastating shift and change, because there was not any divorced in my family, and I always grew up was you can work anything out, and it really changed the paradigm of how I even looked at life, and that, why would someone do that, and why would you not consider counseling? I mean, there's just all kinds of things that came up, and I actually started working graveyards, and which were night shifts, and I was out on the street alone, and one of the things that really kind of I was able to really grasp all of my fear was, is to really garnish in that courage and know that as a single parent, I had to come home every night, that I had my daughters. And so I think sometimes things that we do is that there is a bigger purpose of why we're there. And I even had a fight song, like going to work, where I just gathered up all my courage and my energy so that when I got on the street, I was ready. Like I knew, like, hey, no matter what, I'm coming home to my daughters. And so it became a mindset for me on the street that no matter what, I was going to be okay.
Yeah. Wow. Now there wasn't any I'm getting this from the TV. So there wasn't any problem with custody because he knew that you were going to be working, leaving the girls alone, or with caretakers. There, you didn't have to face that, did you?
Well, actually, I did. And what's so interesting is you would think, as a police officer, it would be considered a respectful, job, and that all those things would be great. But one of the reasons he had taken me to court was saying that I was actually considered unstable because of my shift work and the type of work that I was doing, and all of those kind of things. And he had remarried right away and was trying to say that he had a more stable environment. One of the great things is that I had bought a house across the street from my parents, and so my daughters were raised with their grandparents literally right across the street.
Wonderful.
And so, I look at my parents were very involved in the bringing up of my daughters, and so the courts recognized that they had a very stable environment, and they were able to stay with me.
That is something that I think we overlook the importance of grandparents being involved with our children. It is so healthy for them to have that relationship because they do have unconditional love there. Even as much as I would like to say I offer it, I don't think I do all the time. And I think grandparents do. It's like puppy love. They offer it all the time, no matter where you are. So I think that's awesome. Now, I'm anxious to know if you were to say what those years as an undercover cop gave you. Could you give me, a few words or feelings or understandings? What did you walk away with from those years?
Well, several things, Joyce. I think that one of the big things is that we're stronger than we think. And, when we decide to have that courage, and it really becomes a decision because, you can go down two paths. You could be, really thinking about how scary the job was and how fearful, and you come from that mindset. And that really would have actually put me in more danger, and it also would have affected the danger of the community and my fellow officers because that's the mindset, because what is in our mind is what attracts things to us. When I showed up saying, you know what, no matter what, I'm going home, I'm going to be safe, I'm going to make the best decision I can, I am going to have great impact, I walked in those shoes. And there were times that I maybe didn't always feel like that, particularly as a police officer. And one of the things I really noticed is that, everyone is doing the best that they can. And sometimes the face that you see in front of you is not necessarily the full picture of what's going on in people's lives. And to really have some empathy of what's happening behind the scenes. Because even for myself, when I was in uniform, I would show up and, I'm the face of a police officer and people expect me to save the day and to make everything right for them and everything be great. Yet a lot of people didn't know that I was also had some fearful aspects of me. I was a single mom trying to make my mortgage payment, just wanting to get home to my kids. But I didn't show that aspect of myself. And so one of the things that really helped me when I got into my mentoring and coaching business and really supporting people and living their best life was that, people have many different facets to who they are, and to really be able to have those tools to get that inner wisdom that we sometimes forget we have, that we really truly can do everything that we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So you many times refer to yourself as a reality reset specialist. I love that. It's like, I'm not dealing in a fairyland. I know what life is, and we need to reset. I just love that. I think it's great. So how do you access the inner power that you talk about? I mean, we've talked a bit about the physical power, the mental power, but how do you access it? If there's a woman out there that's facing change, life, divorce, some of those difficult situations that you've been through, that I went through, and others in our industry, how does one reach out and grab the strength that they need to go through difficult times?
This is such a great and powerful question, Joyce, because it's so important. A lot of times we feel that this is something outside of ourselves, that it's like someone is, and I think this happens a lot. In fact, I don't know if for those of you who've had children, one of the things that I remember being in labor with my daughter, and, there was this feeling, and I don't know if it was from TV or whatever, that you go to the hospital and somebody's delivering a baby for you. Like they're doing everything that's happening. And maybe because I was young when I was first having my children, but I remember a moment thinking, like, when everybody was running around and getting things prepared, I remember thinking, I have to do this. Like, I'm the one that does all the work. I'm the one that brings this child into the world. And, they're there to basically catch her and to help support. But this is the energy I need to do. And I think that this is a powerful energy, especially for women, whether you actually have children or not. We birth things into the world, and we actually have to make a decision around that. So when we feel like things are out of our control, they really are with us, and it comes down to a decision. And the decision is, how do you want to move about the world? How do you want to be in the world?
Right.
And making just that decision, go ahead.
Do you reclaim it every day?
Just to finish the thought on that is
sorry.
that,
yes, please.
Making that decision of how you want to live your life is so important, because just making that decision, then you start doing all the supporting actions and the things that allow you to step into that power.
I love the song aspect. Of course, I love music, so that really gravitates with me. But I love the song. Would please sing that for us someday? I want to hear that song. Is it on your website?
No, I know. That's so funny. I should have it on there, right?
You should. I think that would be cool. Yeah, for sure. So we talked about so many things, but I'd like to talk about the drama ratio with clutter that you visited with me about. That's another case of getting your power and understanding what some of the things that we deal with in our everyday life is a reflection of where we are. So I'd love for you to share about the clutter issue that's in many of our homes, how we work about it, how we deal with it.
Yeah,
because it's a sign.
And,
it's a sign.
Joyce, Joyce, this was actually first revealed to me when I was on the police department, because I've been in thousands of homes, and I've been in homes that are multi-million-dollar homes and more modest homes. And it had nothing to do with the socioeconomics. It really had to do with what the environment was, what was happening in there. And I really believe that the environment is a reflection of what's happening within us. And so at that time, I coined the term the clutter to drama ratio, that the more clutter you had in your space, the more drama you had in your life. You would have police come to your home. You would have things going on in your relationship. You would, be emotionally a wreck. And so a lot of times, particularly when women are thrown into a transition in their life, things are not as they normally are. So things can even be more chaotic, especially if you have to move or you have to downsize or you have to shift. And I can remember one client in particular, she was going through a divorce after being married 25 years, and she was so lost, and she basically had all of her things just delivered in the middle of an apartment that she had to grab right away. And she was just, when I came to her and she called me, she was basically sitting in the middle of her room crying because there were just piles of her life. And this was a reflection of what she considered the shambles of her life. It was visibly in front of her of all the things that, had happened in her life. And so one of the things we looked at is, we can look at this as there's aspects here that are holding you down and back. That's actually an anchor of things that represent things that didn't work in your life. And so it's so important to look at what do we have in our space that we want to have, that we love, that actually pulls us forward into the experience of our life that we want to have. And that's where we actually get to regain our control, and we get to make decisions that say, you know what, I am actually going to choose the experience I want to have, and what I have in my space is a reflection of that.
So the actual, how do I want to say this? The actual practice of clutter in somebody's house, what I know it, you're saying it emphasizes chaos, but does it also deal with some decision-making issues that they have in just being clear about who they are?
Yes, absolutely. And what makes it challenging for people, and you and I had this conversation around, it's the decision-making process is sometimes what keeps people stuck. Because especially if you have a lot of transition that's going on in your life, part of your beingness feels like, I don't want to have to make one more decision. Or there can be fearfulness of, I don't want to make another bad decision. Like there could be a feeling of what's happening is, well, maybe I made a bad decision, or there's second guessing of ourselves. And there's this feeling that it actually leaks our power away, and it can actually paralyze us. And so we don't want to make a decision one way or the other because we're afraid of making the wrong decision. And so the best thing to be able to do is just to make one decision. Because what happens is that one thing builds upon, momentum builds upon each other. So when you make one decision, even though the first three decisions might be challenging decisions, it may feel like walking through quicksand. The more you make the decisions, the more you move forward, it becomes faster and easier. And then what happens is you're able to make faster decisions, which then builds your confidence, and then you start having a momentum, and then you can actually start kind of picking yourself up and moving through your life one decision at a time.
Yeah. Do you think there was an age that because I believe we come in this earth being whole, and do you think there was an age or a significant happening in someone's life that they made the decision to start being a clutter bug? Did I phrase that right?
Yes, I actually think that can actually be the truth, because one of the things that can happen is if you have an emotionally significant event, it shifts the world as you know it, right? No one anticipates like, oh, in 3 years I'm going to be divorced, or in 5 years I'm going to lose, an important person in my life. I mean, these are unexpected things that happen in our life. And so when they happen, it shatters our world as we know it. So what we thought was reliable, something that we could, be expecting, there's a sense of feeling that the floor can fall out at any time. And so what happens is that clutter, just like weight, is a form of protection. So we tend to hold on to it so that we don't want to, we have this barrier where we don't want to get hurt, and we don't want anything to come in to affect us. So when something, traumatic can happen in our life, we tend to hold on to things because, one, we don't want to make a decision, and it feels safe. It's like, even though it may look chaotic, it's something that we can rely upon. We know, like, oh, that's over here and that's over here. And it has almost a false sense of comfort in the moment of that. And so it can feel scary to actually start letting go of things because it represents being exposed. It's getting out in the world. And so, we really have to be mindful as we move through those and be aware of the processes that it's going to feel somewhat uncomfortable. And a lot of times I call it being messy in the middle. As you're kind of going through it, it cannot feel as clear. But just knowing that it will be amazing on the other side, you have to keep focused on the end result.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing just in my own experience, because I do tend to have a little of the clutter issue. But when I have repeatedly over the years addressed that in my life, it's amazing how the energy of the room changes. I can walk into a room that now I've worked on, and it's like lighter. It's not, I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's like the clutter isn't there. The closed in feeling isn't there. It's totally different.
Yes. Well, a lot of times people don't realize is that, you can kind of dismiss the clutter for a while when you just kind of get used to it and you walk past it. However, it's a subconscious distraction. It's actually pulling and leaking your energy away, which can lead to you feeling exhausted. You can feel paralyzed. It can actually be more challenging to make a decision when there's clutter in your space because we're creative beings. Whether we make decisions, for our family or our business or our life, we want to be creative. We want to have access, and we literally do not have access to a part of our brain when there's too much happening around us because we feel closed in, so we can't be creative.
Yeah.
But creativity craves clarity, and so you have to create the clarity in your space so you can, express yourself and be a viable person in the world versus being shut down. And so clearing a space, and that's why I say, you don't have to, go too crazy here. Clear one space and just see how that feels and breathe into that, particularly for like entrepreneurs. A lot of times they're one of the most cluttered rooms in their home is their office. And the thing is that people will say that they want to have more abundance in their life. They want to, thrive. But a lot of times, the place that they're supposed to be generating, money or paying bills or having some clarity are the most clogged areas. And that can be a reflection of what people are experiencing of not having that abundance and that flow, because money is an expression. It's a flow, right? And if things are clogged up in our life, we don't always see the flow that we want to see.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Listeners, I hope you're hearing this. The importance of decluttering is huge in opening your energy level in your home. We could repeat that, and eventually you'll hear. So, anyway,
right.
I've been there.
It's a great example. It's a great example for, your listeners. Like if they're at home, don't do this if you're in your car and you're driving, but when you get home, to actually walk into each room of your home and just stand in the middle and close your eyes and just see,
cool.
and just see how you feel.
Yeah.
Right? So when you see like how you feel, then you can really start noticing what's happening in the space and what the impact is for you.
Awesome. Well, we are going to take a short break, and I know that we will be back because I know my listeners will be back and continue listening because this has been so powerful. And so anyway, go take your quick little break and be back with us as we continue talking about empowering yourself. Seek power always.
Transformational coach, motivational speaker, and author Joyce Buford returns after this short break.
Would you like to know how to bring more ease to all the decisions you need to make in life? Knowing your core values is the first step in Joyce's free live masterclass. You'll discover your top 5 core values in as little as 45 minutes. Join her now at freegiftfromjoyce.com. Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
Welcome back to this segment of Second Wind. Joyce Buford, the creator of Uncover Your Hidden Genius, continues in this segment to share insight that will help you live a life of greater purpose, fulfillment, and ease. Now here's our host, author and coach, Joyce Buford.
We are talking today with Diane Halfman. And in addition to being a speaker and an author and a podcast host, she is an organizational expert, she has shared with us great ideas about clutter and the need for clarity, particularly that when we don't live in clutterless environments, that can be a reflection of the stress and the decision making and the chaos that may be going in our lives. So what about the importance? I'm kind of curious, did you go into organizational development before or after as part of your coaching program? Because we're going to talk about environments and how important they are. So did you come from organizational skills and that led you into the importance? Or did you already know that? That's a very confusing question.
It's kind of both, actually. I grew up, my mother is like a very organized person, and so I got to see that there was a lot of order in our life in growing up. And one of the things I did is I helped, family and friends and later clients in helping them organize their space and environment, because I quickly saw as I was, creating the clutter to drama ratio that, it was a way for me originally to do it for myself, because I saw so much chaos in the world with the police work that it was a safe haven for me at home to have things clear. And I knew that when things started to stack up, it started affecting my overwhelm and anxiety, and I felt that it was less easier to deal with the stress in my day and my work when I came home and my environment was chaotic. And so it was a way for me to bring peace of mind into my life. And I noticed it for fellow, officers and friends who, how they felt in my home, and they wanted that as well. And so that's kind of what launched into me helping people organize their life. And then as I retired out, I got my master's degree and started really formalizing by doing the coaching and showing people how they could really direct this in their life and that they could actually create it for themselves.
Right. So you talk about the environment versus willpower. Could you talk more?
Yes, absolutely. Well, this is such a great example of, we set goals, right? And we have these great intentions around goals, especially like New Year's goals, right? And they're good for maybe a week, 2, if you're lucky, 3 weeks. And then we start feeling bad about those goals, right?
Right. They're taking up time.
Right. And so what's happening is that, it's not your fault, because when you set these goals, you're trying to fulfill on them based on your willpower, that you're just trying to muscle through it and hope that it'll get you there. And one of the things that happens is that having the willpower isn't strong enough to actually get you through to actually have that happen. It's your environment that actually pulls you into what you want to do, versus willpower feels like a push. It feels like hard. It feels like you're having to force it to have happen. So we want to create the environments that actually pull us into the experience that make it easy for us to have happen. And I have a great example around this. So a lot of times people have a health goal for their New Year's goals, and they'll either want to lose weight or they want to have more energy, or there's something that they want to do around their health. And so they'll say, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to have more energy when I wake up. And they'll say, okay, ready, go. And then they continue about doing their habits in the regular way, and they start kind of falling off the wagon right away because their environments have not changed. Just what they said they were going to do, but they didn't do anything that supported them through it. So a great example would be if you got you bought this cupcake, it's this gorgeous 1,000-calorie cupcake with all the frosting and all the things on it, and you're going to bring it home and set it on your counter and say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to touch it. It's actually for my family. Maybe I'll just have a bite of it. And you have all these things around it. But what happens is that if you put it in your home, it's in your environment, and if you walk past that cupcake enough times, you're either going to be, stressed enough, hungry enough, or there's nothing else to eat, that you're just going to gobble down that cupcake because it's there and it's in the environment. And so I always tell people it doesn't mean that you can never have a cupcake again. However, don't sleep with the enemy. Don't have it in your home where you're looking at it every day and having to walk past it. It doesn't support you. make it challenging, make you have to drive to the best cupcake place and enjoy it guilt-free. And then when you come home, you have better choices. And so you fill your home with healthy snacks and things that are good for you. You don't want to say, oh, here is these things that I'm going to get to reward myself down the road. You're going to go into those things. So you don't want to create that to be in a space that will actually affect you. So your environment is everything. So you want to create every room in your space for the experience that you want to have. In your office, you want to have it where it has, you can get a hold of your bills very easily. You can maybe connect with your clients. You want to have flow and openness in there because your experience that you want to have is to make money, to have abundance. If it's cluttered or stacked up, you're not going to have that experience. So you want to create the environment in each room of your home, including your bedroom. Is that a place where you can actually rest, or do you have a bunch of electronics in there, or you have your laundry at the end of your bed? And what is the experience you actually want to have in your space?
Right. Well, now I tried at the beginning of the year to start a new program. I need to exercise, like many people listening out there. And so I got this portable bicycle and I put it in my bedroom and I walk by it every day. And if anything, I get guilt from not getting on it. So would you recommend something that I need to do? Do I just need to fold that thing up and move it out of my bedroom and start going to a gym? Or what do I need to do?
Well, so basically you have to shift the habits. First of all, I definitely would not have it in your bedroom because it's subconsciously having conflicting thoughts. This is a room where you're supposed to have, rest and serenity. Right. And now you're, looking at that and you're feeling guilt and, anxiousness, right? So that's not the energy you want to have in your bedroom. Now, one of the things would be helpful is if you could match it with something else. So maybe you would put it in your family room and you say, every time I watch TV, which is a sedentary activity that doesn't really support my health, I'm gonna watch it while I'm on my bike. Yes. So you now have an activity where you are, maybe getting to watch one of your shows you want to watch, but you're doing it on your bike. Or you have something where it is facing nature and you get to experience what is something beautiful outside, so you can have that. But the most important thing is that you actually get it on your calendar, that is, you actually determine a time that you're going to do it so it becomes a habit. Just like brushing your teeth, it's like you get up, you brush your teeth, and then you go about your business. You need to have those habits in place about when they happen, because if you just say, oh, I'm just going to fit it in, nothing's going to just fit in.
So do you choose the time how do you choose the time? One that is more, because we all exercise differently. Some people like to do it at night, some like to do it early in the morning. Is it just our own self-reflection?
Right, yeah, you have to do some self-reflection to see what is the best time for you. I have found just through my clients that usually first thing in the morning, a lot of times people will have maybe a meditative or prayer practice in the morning, get themselves centered. However, the earlier you do it in the day, the more likely it's going to actually happen because, you may get sidetracked with other type things. Now, there's other clients where it's like, you know what, my brain is, if you're a morning person, I really want to do my most creative, things that take the most energy, and then I want to do it maybe in 2 in the afternoon or after work. So you got to look at what's the flow for you that you can, make it an actual habit. It's great if you actually link it with something else. So if you say, I'm going to go after work, then you would actually have all of your workout clothes with you, that you change clothes while you're at work, so you don't allow yourself to get home and get distracted. It actually happens at that time. So you have to set up the environment so that you link it to something else. It's like, okay, I go here first before I go here. I go here right after work when this happens. So you link it with a time that works for you, that you have the energy that matches the activity that you're going to do, and that you prepare yourself by having all the things you have. You have your shoes and your clothes laid out and you're ready to go.
Right. Yeah. That's a wonderful suggestion. Great. Do you have other powerful tools that you like to have time to share with us? We're not long enough. We need longer. Yeah, Diane, we need more time.
Well, I'll give you as much as I can in the time we have together here. And one of the things I think is really helpful, and this is actually a really great resource for your listeners is a book by a woman named Mel Robbins, and it's called The 5-Second Rule. And I don't know if you've heard it, but it is a really great read because it talks about how the time of us deciding to do something that is in our best interest and that is powerful for us, and us moving into procrastination and hesitation and not doing it is just 5 seconds. It happens that quickly. And so we tend to beat up ourselves because we feel like, oh, why can't I get things done, or I procrastinate, or things happen. Well, because the decision between I'm going to do something and I'm not going to do something is only 5 seconds. And so you need to have powerful starting tools that say, you know what, as soon as I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to actually do a countdown. I'm going to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to move your body. You're going to get up and put your tennis shoes on. You're going to do something that actually moves you forward, because if you hesitate beyond those 5 seconds, then the hesitation leads into procrastination, which leads into guilt, second guessing, and then you're down, a slippery slope.
It's all the way down to the bottom. Yes, I think those are great suggestions. I have heard of Mel Robbins' work, and she's even got on YouTube. You can look her up on YouTube. It's pretty interesting to hear her speak. She's powerful. Now I'd like for my audience to know how to get you. So if your website is Diane Halfman, HALFMAN.com. And you also have a presence on Facebook, and that is facebook.com/Diane, Diane, DIANE, Halfman, HALFMAN, fan. I like that. A fan. Then you have Twitter, and you also have LinkedIn. So one of the things that I usually ask my guests is if they'd be willing to give something, and you have offered a fabulous gift today. So would you please share with us what that is?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. One of the things, Joyce, that I have found that really helps people shift their life and to really, regain their power, and is to really have the awareness around them about what is working for them and what is not working for them. So I created my Life Reset Quiz, and I made it very simple for people to get to, where they can just go to liferesetquiz.com, and it literally takes 2 minutes to take this quiz, where you're able to see in the different areas of your life, what are your thoughts, what's your space like, how are you taking care of yourself, these different areas of your life, so that you can see right away and you get the response back right away about what are the areas that you're succeeding in and you're doing really well, and what are some of the areas that you need to pay attention to, that you maybe need to have some support or some ways to really look at, because once we have that awareness, we can then do something about it.
Great feedback. I think I love to take all these quizzes, so you'll probably see my name on there for sure. But I do think that this is a great tool to help somebody start. You may be totally unaware of could be an area that I do need to look at. Certainly there are areas we know, but there are some that maybe we're so comfortable that we don't realize it's kind of a point that we could improve or change, or we need to make a decision about. So I love this tool that you have created for people to take. And I think people like to take quizzes, don't you? I think they like the feedback. Too. The woman that's listening to us today wants to have that information. She wants to change her life. She wants to go successfully through whatever transition she's experiencing. So why did you decide to do Spa Life podcast? Which is we want people to go there too.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to have people really look at, I found that in my work, especially with my police work, I lived literally in emergency mode every day, answering emergency calls. But what I found is that most people I come in contact with, they also live their life every day in emergency mode. They're just putting out fires, and they're overwhelmed and anxious, and they're trying to get all these things done, and there's just all these have-tos that they need to do. And so I really wanted to look at the, spa life, about how do you live your spa life? How do you have that power within you? How are you living at choice in your life? And so I consciously wanted to create an environment where we could showcase successful women who have this high level of success in their life, but they're doing it with some harmony. They're doing it where they're having some balance in their life. And balance isn't necessarily balance every day. I mean, it's really about how you can really flow the things together so it actually is a reflection, so that you actually emerge in living your best life. So it's really showcasing how you get out of emergency mode, the decisions that you make in your day-to-day life, so that it can actually equal a life that you actually enjoy, and that's something that you're choosing, and it's really being proactive and designing your life versus living by default.
Yeah. So you interview, much like I'm doing in this podcast, right? You interview a woman every week. That's awesome. I love it. I love it because that's what I do. And I think having examples and people can open our worlds of where we may live in a closed environment where we've got some bars around our thoughts that we need to bust down. I think this is a great opportunity to highlight people. And,
yes, I definitely think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I think is so great is that, so many times we don't have examples of how we can succeed in life and what we can do. And sometimes our vision of what that looks like is not something that we actually want to have in our life. Like, it doesn't feel like, well, that person, they might be successful, but, they went through, hell to get there, right?
Right.
You really want to look at what is some of their successful strategies that allowed them to learn from that, so that we can, not have to reinvent the wheel and have those strategies to improve our own life.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Now, I have to ask this question. What was the decision when that sort of switched you from the cop world into, I assume you went into spa life and creating and wanted to coach. Was there a moment in there that you decided, this is where I stop this and I start creating this?
Well, I think that the answer to that is divine intervention, that it wasn't actually a conscious choice on my part. I was actually in a training accident where I actually shattered the bones in my gun hand, and I was medically retired from the department. So I basically went through half my career. I did 10 years of patrol as well as undercover work, and it was, that was definitely a coming to Jesus moment of now what, right? Talk about getting a huge pivot in your life of how you think you're going to move forward.
Right.
And I think there's so many things that you feel like, oh, wow, this happened to me, but I really believe things happen for us. And
I
they
agree.
really shift us in a way that allows us. I think sometimes our most tragic moments really are catalysts. They're launching pads into the next phase of our life, and it allows us to get all of the experiences of those things that is really becomes our message. And so I've heard this before about, our mess becomes our message, and it really is what brings us into the world to do our greater work.
Yeah. It's sort of like when the universe speaks to us and says, okay, you're ready to move on. You've trained well. It's your turn to move.
Right. And we might go kicking and screaming until we realize, oh, okay, maybe this is a good move.
This may turn out better than I think. And I know it has. I know the great tools, but also the empathy that you gain by having such a diverse background has given you such great insight to some of the transitions women go through. And although the word transition has been so overused, it is still what we do. We kind of recreate who we are all through our life. And it's amazing the doors that open to help us move into a new area.
Right. Well, I think that, the word is transformation, that we really are transferring all of the things in our life into the next version of ourselves. And I think what's so powerful about hosting shows like, you and I are doing is to have that example of women on the other side. Because when you're in it, you can't see the lessons in it. It's really hard to really see. It can be challenging to be like, well, how is this really for my greater good? This is the worst thing that's happened. I mean, depending on where your mindset is around it, it can be really challenging. But to really connect with women on the other side, to really start, connecting the dots of this is actually the best thing that happened to you, because it really gave you a voice, or it gave you a foundation to use all of the things that happened to really apply it to the next life. And that is so transformative and so powerful to be able to, make it to the other side.
Oh, indeed. Indeed. So what do you have ahead of you? Do you, is it to build, you say you want to travel international, you have an international mission. So you want to take your message globally, or what is, so, would that be the next step for you?
Yeah. So there are a couple things. One, I'm really focusing on speaking and really getting in front of groups of women, and I do my power talk. So I have an acronym around power, the POWER, and it's really about women reclaiming their power. And I'm really passionate about that conversation, because I think there's so many things in life that can leak our power, and we can feel, helpless or paralyzed by it. And so I'm really about the message of women reclaiming their power. And so that's really what I'm doing now, is speaking on stages and getting that message out, as well as I have online courses, and I also host retreats for people who, I think it's important to have community where people can come together and transform some of these experiences together. So I'm just connecting with the women of the world.
I know. So through your programs that you offer, people need to go to your website to know exactly what you do offer. There are so many wonderful things there. Yeah. Tell us a few of the things, just so we can entice them to go there, because they need to go and see what's on your website for sure. Right.
Well, I can give you a little sneak peek. One of the things that's not up there yet, but if you take the quiz, we'll be in contact through email, so anyone can ask any questions about it. But I've got some save the dates for February, which will be happening in beautiful, sunny, San Diego, California, where I'll be having a 2-day live retreat where it'll be Reclaim Your Power. So it'll be really powerful for women to come and be together and really be a part of the conversation of reclaiming their power. So that's one of the big things that I'm focusing on with that.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, will this be your first big event? Or have you done others?
I have done others. I've done couples retreats, and I've done retreats for women. So I do like to bring people together. This will be the first time that I will do one where we're focusing specifically on regaining your power and focusing on the power aspects of it, about really empowering yourself and how to do that and the tools around that.
Right. So what do you offer on your Facebook page? If somebody wants to go and visit your Facebook, do you answer questions? How do people interact with you on your Facebook?
I do. I've got several. I've got a private group, and it's actually the Spa Life Sisterhood, and it's a place where women can, if you go onto Facebook and you look that up, you can ask for a request to join that. I'm happy to have your membership be in there. It's complimentary to be in there, but it's a private group so that we can have conversations about, things in your environment, things you might be tolerating. I also have daily messages to stay, in a positive frame of mind that is in there. And it's a way to really create community, because sometimes when we go through, transition, or we go through tragedy and things that happen, a lot of times we talk about the 3 Ds that can really take us out from, disease, divorce, and death, and we feel alone and isolated. So I think it's so important to connect in community. And so that's what I create in my Facebook group. And we do some challenges as well, like ways to reset your life and things that really allow us to interact together to support each other.
Yes. Would you please share with us again those two addresses, your website and your Facebook?
Sure, yes. So you can go to DianeHalfman.com, and there has all of my online academies. It has ways that you can connect with me. There's some other free gifts in there. So there's a lot of things that you can explore on my website. And then when you're in Facebook, you can actually first of all, you'd want to friend me and become friends. Yeah. And so you can just go to Diane Halfman, just search for me there, and you can add that. And then you can look for Spa Life Sisterhood. And if you just search under groups, and if you look at Spa Life Sisterhood, then you can come in there and we'll admit you in.
Sounds like a great support group. I have so enjoyed this, Diane. You are doing amazing work. I love the message. I love you. So many things about the work that you're doing. So I just feel thrilled that we walked across each other's paths in our growth, and that I could offer your knowledge to my listeners as well. I encourage all of you out there to go to www.liferesetquiz.com so that you, can learn more about yourself, but you can also start being connected with Diane. So thank you, Diane. Thank you. It's been great.
Oh, my pleasure, Joyce, and thank you for all that you're doing to connect these women together and giving them a forum to really get their voice and their feelings be heard here. So thanks so much for your work in the world.
Yeah, thank you. So, my dears out there, please have a great week. Take this information that you've learned today, incorporate it into your life, and you will start changing your life. So you've heard some great information today. So until next week, I hope you make this week memorable and that it's full of love. Thank you.
Joyce Buford returns next week at this same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving support during their transition and are able to reclaim their true purpose and strength. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at